What's good? I'm Brilliance Proper, and I want to talk about Andre 3000. Honestly, not as much about the album, but instead what his current direction in music means, why it matters, why it doesn't matter, and several points in between. Let's get into it. I've been antagonizing myself about what to do for my first YouTube video, and this seemed like the perfect place to start because this album rollout has struck up so many emotions in people, and I wanted to break down my long-held feelings about Andre, the music industry, fans, just everything. So starting off, everybody loves OutKast, right? It could be argued that they dropped 5 back-to-back classic albums, with Speakerboxxx The Love Below becoming the best-selling rap album of all time. Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music started off strong with Players Ball, the title track, and of course, Get Up, Get Out with Goodie Mob. Backed by Organized Noise, they released some of the most experimental rap songs of the time, especially coming from the South, and never really let off the gas as far as hits are concerned. Elevators, ATLians, Rosa Parks, Bodie Dopalicious, Bombs Over Baghdad, Miss Jackson, and even their guest appearance on UGK's International Players Anthem. But it was the aforementioned album, or technically albums, Speakerboxxx and The Love Below, which really showed a new side of OutKast, splitting the pair off into their own respective solo albums, with Big Boi taking on a more traditional OutKast sound, and Andre really leaning into the 3000 side with his Lauryn Hill-esque turn, singing and rapping as not to give the album an easy box to just stick it into. From that point forward, OutKast was never the same, and Andre started being placed into all-time greatest conversations. From there, OutKast released a few songs here and there, and did drop Idlewild in 2006, which is technically a soundtrack to the film, so I don't really count it as a proper album. Nonetheless, they were cemented in rap history as proof positive that the South had something to say. This is where their story gets interesting to me, because while OutKast the group stopped making music, neither solo performer ever did. So for me, I look at Speakerboxxx and The Love Below as solo albums, not one group album, despite how it was put out. Looking back on it, so many people see it as the star turn of Andre, which is a disservice to the Speakerboxxx album, which is dope in its own right. Personally, I still listen to that side of the album more than Andre's. It's a great album, in all honesty. It's a pure rap album, which I'm in the mood for most of the time, and songs like Ghetto Music, The Way You Move, Tomb of the Boom, and Flip Flop Rock honestly still knock. And if we look at them for the solo albums that they are, it showed that they were both supposed to have great solo careers in the future. And guess who ended up showcasing this next? If your guess was Big Boi, you'd be wrong. Does anybody remember the show on Cartoon Network, Class of 3000? Class of 3000 was a 28-episode, 2-season cartoon aimed at kids that Andre not only voiced the main character in, but also created songs for as well. If Idlewild can be counted as an OutKast album, then Class of 3000, that soundtrack, is the second Andre solo album with 14 tracks he raps and sings on, and was released through OutKast's label, LaFace, in 2006. Yes, it's a kid show and a kid soundtrack, but it's still Andre making dope music post OutKast as a soloist. So if you'd like to introduce the youth to Class of 3000, go ahead. It's on streaming services now. From there, Andre became highly sought after for guest appearances on songs like the Walk It Out remix by Greenlight with John Legend, Party by Beyonce, Solo with Frank Ocean, and a couple dozen others leading up to the Grammy-nominated Scientists and Engineers by Killer Mike that dropped not that long ago. Andre has been said to have never dropped a whack verse, and plenty know that he still has it when it comes to a guest appearance, so it's obvious that he could hold down an album of his own, right? And if you look at his partner Big Boi, you would understand why people care so much. Big Boi first dabbled in his own separate label and group, Purple Ribbon, dropping the single Kryptonite back in 2005. Later in 2010, he signed to Def Jam and dropped his first pair of solo albums, Sir Lucius Left Foot, The Son of Chico Dusty, followed by Vicious Lies and Dangerous Rumors. He then linked with one of my favorite groups, Fantagram, for the 7-song EP Big Grams, and released his next solo album, Boomiverse, in 2017, and most recently his second collaboration album, Big Sleepover, with longtime Dungeon family member Sleepy Brown. He was also instrumental in bringing Janelle Monáe to the forefront as a member of Purple Ribbon and being an executive producer on her first album, The Arc Android. So if one member of OutKast is not only active, but has consistently been creating solo and group rap music in the almost 2 decades since the group informally disbanded, why can't the other? Well, in short, he doesn't want to. And I think that's not only okay, but valid. Listen, I'm gonna cut to the chase. Andre doesn't owe anyone a damn thing in music, and his reasoning is solid. He literally does not want to. That should end the conversation. Does he still craft great verses? Absolutely. But he obviously doesn't think he can make another solo rap album of his own volition. Doing a great guest verse is easy when you're called upon and only have to worry about one verse and then remove yourself from the equation. An album is another animal entirely. You can't push a true creative into a space where they don't want to create what you're asking for. People and their priorities change all the time, and I don't see the problem with that. He's not even the first musician, but definitely not the first rapper to jump ship from the mic. J-Zone is a great example of this, releasing albums from the 90s through the early 2000s. He more or less left rap, wrote a book, picked up drumming full-time and goes by his own name, Jay Mumford, and releases drum breaks and plays as a member of the band The Do-Rights. D-Nice was an MC as part of Boogie Down Productions. He released 2 albums in the early 90s and went on to become a producer, web developer, photographer, and eventually the full-time DJ we see now who got us through the quarantine with his Instagram live mixes. Terminator X of Public Enemy runs an ostrich farm. Many mainstream rappers are already so myopic in their interests anyway, so Andre making a departure album of this magnitude is honestly refreshing. Rappers like cars, alcohol, and money, so their other endeavors usually include being part of an alcohol brand. They used to start clothing brands like 20 years ago, but that's over with. I can't even tell if they like other types of music. Andre said he owns like 30 to 40 flutes. At the very least, that's something different regardless of whether you care or not. Sometimes different is enough. And here's where I might upset some people, but I haven't been clamoring for an Andre 3000 album in the slightest. This isn't some hot take or to be contrarian, but seriously, why would anyone? I get the appeal of a prolific musician releasing a new and interesting body of work, but I would only say I needed something from a specific artist if I wasn't already able to get it elsewhere, or even if I was missing it from somewhere in my current lineup. And what Andre brings to the table, I'm honestly good on. On one hand, Andre has made a lot of his views pretty known to the wider world with many of his songs and interviews over the years, and if a new rap album would just be more of the same, I've already heard that from him and Big Boy and others who followed in their footsteps. Just as well, OutKast have displayed some pretty problematic views in their music, which most rappers have, so I'm not isolating them. And again, I don't require more of that. On the other hand, so much really good music has come out in the time between The Love Below and now that has filled whatever gap people think is missing. Something that irritates me to no end, and I'll go into that in a larger detail in another video, but it's how supposed rap heads swear that the game is so messed up. Don't nobody make music like that anymore. They don't make it. They can't do it like that anymore. And these are people I fully avoid, like Herman Cain avoided living after that Trump rally. I can tell they're not paying attention. If this were 2003, I wouldn't blame you as much for thinking that mainstream rap is all there is and that the state of music is in shambles. The internet hadn't kicked into full gear for everyone yet. Rap magazines like XXL and The Source were still printing, and everyone was watching TRL and 106 in Park to get updates on new music. Finding your thing and going to the underground was sometimes a chore back then. But it's 2003, y'all, and most of us have about 90% of all recorded music in our pockets through streaming services. About 100,000 songs are uploaded to these services daily. So while I get that you can't reasonably sift through all of it, you can't tell me that you truly believe that 100% of current music is terrible and only 3 artists that you like are doing any good. If you think this, you're an idiot and need to grow up. Here, let me give you some examples. Andre stated that he had nothing to rap about at 48 and said he can't make interesting songs out of things like getting a colonoscopy. Phonte released a song called Expensive Jeans in 2018 on his album No News is Good News, where he says, "Wifey sleeping in the guest room 'cause you snore at night. It's like 40 years old is 3/4 life. Our biggest fears were shots and armed robbery. Now our biggest fears are clots and oncology. Got a sleep app to tell you you got sleep apnea. He all in his sheets with a CPAP. Wish that I could fit in these expensive jeans. I don't like this cut. It's like the Lord got my order wrong. 3 a.m. stress eating, laying down on it. Now your blood sugar is borderline borderline." His albums are actually filled with introspective verses like this, and like Andre, he raps and sings too. Then we have Elzai, who is constantly discussing real life troubles like his album Lead Poison, where he discusses depression, loss, love, and even his arrest and probation for marijuana possession. It's as relatable as you can get. Do you want off the beaten path rap that's quirky but introspective? Open Mike Eagle has been releasing music for years, including a new album, another triumph of ghetto engineering, but also one of his most personal projects, Anime, Trauma, and Divorce, where he literally goes through his life and divorce track by track, including the song The Black Mirror episode, where he details how an episode of the Netflix show directly led to the separation from his ex-wife. Are you just looking for familiar MCs? OutKast, Master Ace, and the late Black Rob, all of these people have released new music recently. Do you want new cats that are similar to OutKast? Earth Gang exists, JID exists, and they're part of a collective called Spillage Village that's basically like Dungeon Family 3.0. This isn't even scratching the surface of artists that are out here who are making emotionally resonating, in-depth, quality rap music in different age ranges, subgenres, and regions across rap, and it costs you literally the streaming service you already have to dig into them to see that Andre doesn't need to supply water to a well that's overflowing. You're just horses that are unwilling to drink. Andre has his own views regarding age in rap, and that's fine for him to have them, and regardless of how many times he's told otherwise, it doesn't matter how good of an MC he is. He doesn't have it in his heart to create what you may want him to. Creatives gotta create on their own terms. Other people are filling in the gaps rather nicely, and it would be honestly easier if y'all just dug slightly deeper than waste your breath on trying to get him to resurrect a career he doesn't want for himself. Sierra isn't going back to Future. Andre wants to make songs with his flute, and you'll have to keep listening to old OutKast music that's already out or find something different. If you stuck around this far, like, subscribe, share, and really thank you for your time. I really appreciate all the love as far as anybody that's been supporting me on TikTok, where I've been making videos for the past year and some change. Go ahead and find me there, Brilliance Proper. Also the same on Instagram, Be Proper on Twitter, and peace to hip hop, peace to you and yours. And I'll see you next time.